does one explain the motivations of a self-avowed ice cream fanatic who decides to become a marathon runner?
I think I'll have a little sundae here. Well, maybe not too little. 4.5 years ago, my wife and I opened up a Dairy Queen, and that's where we wind up spending a lot of our time. Oh, maybe a little more. And some pecans. How about some pecans? Yeah, I like pecans. This is one of the things that makes owning a Dairy Queen so wonderful. What prompted me to get into physical shape came back in 1988. A friend of mine got married, Michael White, and when we were looking over the wedding pictures, I saw myself, and at the time I was 41 pounds overweight. So for my New Year's resolution, beginning in 1989, was that I was going to lose most of that weight.
Chuck's desire to change the way he looked energized him to take action. Psychologists categorize activation as one of the 3 basic characteristics of motivation, along with persistence and intensity.
There are 3 characteristics to general characteristics to motivation. One of them is activation. Motivation activates behavior. You see the activation in the production of behavior. Another one is persistence. The motivated organism will persist in trying to achieve a particular behavior or a goal. And the final is the intensity. We tend to think that more intense behaviors are more motivated behaviors.
Activation as a principle of motivation is usually, it assumes that you're inactive. You're asleep, you're not doing anything. You think of a hungry organism. He's sitting there asleep in the den. There's a period of deprivation of no food, gets up and does something. So that's activation. He's energized. The animal's energized to do something.
I joined a gym and I started running every other day, just for fitness and to build my strength. After a while, the 15 minutes, was too easy, and so I started extending the time, about maybe 5 minutes every week, did a couple more laps, until the point where I was worked up to about 10 miles a day. At that point, I started figuring, well, there was a little 10K race, which is 6.2 miles, in the neighborhood here in Cypress, and so I decided to sign up for it just to see what I could do. My goal was to do it in 40 minutes or less, and I wound up doing it in 38 minutes, which I was very pleased with.
Persistence of behavior is another indicator of motivation. How long will you work at it? Say you're working at a task in an achievement setting, and it's very difficult. How long will you work at it until you solve it? So that's an indicator of motivation.
So from there, I started entering a bunch of other smaller races in the neighborhood, same thing, 10Ks, 8Ks, things like that. I started thinking, I had a couple friends that, had talked about running marathons. And when they told me about it, I thought they were crazy, 26.2 miles. That's a long way to drive, let alone, to run. But after my running progressed to the point where, an hour and a half was easy, I thought, I could do that.
Motivation is also characterized by intensity. The desire to run a marathon caused Chuck to train hard for a race that seemed impossible only a few months before.
There they go! And in the history of motivation, there's 2 main contexts to study it. One is a hungry animal, typically a rat, running down a straight alleyway. And the second would be someone in an achievement context working at a task. I want to determine if this person is motivated. Is the rat motivated? Is the person motivated? How do I do that? One thing that tells me is, for example, how fast does the rat run down the alleyway? So the hungrier the animal is, the faster he'll run. And in a similar light, the more the person wants to achieve, the harder they'll work.